ago, talking about some of the considerations for this. So I'll just leave it to John to kick it off, and I'm welcome, and I'm happy to contribute and answer any questions you have.
Well, given that Pete is the city's main tree expert, that was kind of a cop-out, Pete. I'll just say that right there.
I don't want to steal your thunder, man.
Well, yeah, so the email that I sent out, yeah, it's been a month at least that came out. It was just kind of in response to the fact that I couldn't really make it to your last meeting, so I apologize for that. Still hot topic, still an interest, and I know in that email I actually committed to making it a higher priority, which I didn't completely fail on, but I didn't really get to where I'd hoped to be. But
well, that was partly our problem because we had an additional speaker. The meeting kind of ran on longer than we intended. So, but it was all very interesting stuff. So thank you.
Yeah, it was, that's right. That's how that meeting went. I've had too many meetings. I've kind of forgot how that went, but I just know that I didn't really connect with you guys. And I sent that email that just kind of indicated there's a lot of things that this position, almost too many things. I don't want to set the bar too low, but I also don't want the position to be set up for failure. I think that this city has probably needed a forester for many years. And because of that, there's kind of a backlog of things that I know many of you are interested in getting accomplished. But, so, and then just internally, the needs of my department, the needs of the Parks Department, the needs of the Planning Department. At times, Pete does a great job with this group, but is this the right position for an urban forester to? Is the urban forestry position, maybe the right staff liaison with the NRC, definitely with the watershed councils. We've got we're actually just about to hire a water quality specialist. I don't know if you met Brian Monin before. I think he'd probably come to the NRC meetings, but he left the city, and he was doing both water quality, drinking water quality, and stormwater quality work for us. And we split that because he had an assistant, and so we've kind of split that back to be drinking water technician and a stormwater quality technician. And so that person, I don't have a confirmed start date, but soon is going to be starting with the city. Definitely a little greener than Brian was. Brian brought a lot of technical knowledge to the position, but anyway, that might be another position that the NRC would be kind of interested in, as he gets his feet wet for sure. But this urban forester position, I don't know what to tell you other than I'm most intrigued by what the city of Eugene offers in terms of a program. I've heard about it through my APWA conferences. I don't go to a lot of the forestry conferences because that's not something we've come to have to deal with it, but it's not an expertise that I follow. So I haven't really been in those circles, but I have been through APWA. We've heard a lot about the city of Eugene's program. So, and I've looked at their forester job description, and to be honest with you, it aligns better than the others that I've looked at. I've got just a handful of examples, and I just in reading Eugene's, I'm most impressed with that one, and I think it really pretty closely aligns with our needs. But again, I think anything from staffing this committee to helping line staff with tree removal applications or evaluation of trees. And then all the programs and interests in between. I mean, some of the pest problems that we're facing are big ones, right? How do you build a strategy with? I think there may be a fair amount of volunteer coordination that could come with that. That would be, could be focused and utilized in a way that would help us build our tree inventory, at least our street tree inventory or our public tree inventory. So I see value there. Parks is, they're a different department, but again, we've had some problems there before, and just, how we make determinations of what should be removed. Hopefully we won't see another storm icing event for any of our lives, right? But you never know if that could come up, just contracting and working out tree removal or tree trimming or limb clearing. Just managing a lot of that work would probably fall to this position. So I think there's no shortage of work for this position. The thing I'm a little bit worried about, and reason why I mentioned before Denise got off, I just kind of wanted to reemphasize. And actually, today I had a meeting with Mike Mitchell, and just kind of shared with him, I actually met with him and Adam Marl, and they were just kind of, as new commissioners, wanting to connect with all the departments. And so we had some time with them today, and one of them asked a direct question about budget and what we saw changing, and we don't have, Public Works doesn't have a proposal for more staff this go around, other than the forester position. So we will be making that request, and I don't know if we have 100%, but those three for sure seem supportive of the idea, which is half the battle, right? So I haven't had a chance to talk to Commissioner Smith or Commissioner O'Donnell about this, but it has come up in meetings, public meetings, and I didn't get any sense that people didn't agree with that. I know, tree removals have been controversial in Oregon City, and there's one on your agenda tonight that didn't necessarily have to go to the commission, but I'm a little paranoid when it comes to removing trees, especially large trees. So we went ahead and took that to the city commission, even though it was
technically exempt,
it was exempt from that requirement, but I just don't want to be on the wrong side of the community when it comes to tree removal. So that's why we did that. But but we actually had removed most of the tree before that meeting, so it was really just an update. But anyway, I mean, having someone in-house that the community is familiar with, that maybe is building trust in the community, and that's the goal. I'm going to stop rambling here and just kind of see if you guys want to contribute. I know I've heard that from you. How can we help? It's really it's really not that difficult. It's just I just haven't had time to get there, but it's fully my intention to have a city approved through probably our union, because it would be a union position, and through our HR director, have that position ready to go, and hopefully have a pretty good indication during the budget session, which budget starts surprisingly next week for us. We see that so Public Works gets we've got lots of budgets. Oh my gosh, Pete, there's 2 pictures of me in one screen.
They just popped up.
That's just twice as bad. But
I don't know what that is.
When you talk, it tends to make your picture big in that first square where it shows all of us right now.
Now we're all on there.
I know it comes and goes, it drives me crazy.
It's much better when it's de-emphasized. But anyway,
I want to say that when Sam and I did the presentation for the street tree changes, we went before the city commission and the proposed rule change. we also put a pitch out for getting a city forester. And so at least 4 or 5 commissioners at that point I saw looking like they agreed, and one just wasn't quite sure. So, you know, but I think,
I think, it would be, I think, crazy to think that anyone would oppose that one position. Where we find that we get into trouble is when there's so many interests in staffing. Last night there was talk about tourism and how we better support tourism in Oregon City, and usually police department, there's a police officer or something, and so before you know it, you've got 4 or 5 requests for additional staff, and that's when the debate gets a little a little tougher, and you don't always know who's vying for what, and it becomes very much a policy decision that even with support from staff, I mean, every position that comes forward at budget season usually has a director who's advocating for that position change. And it kind of forces, and almost every one of them is going to have justification to be filled. So one way to help would be, and I don't think this has come about, but, a letter to probably at budget time during the budget committee meetings. They're long meetings. So, I don't know how much and when in the agenda this will happen. Maybe we'll be able to forecast that, and maybe it would make sense to have someone from the NRC attend, but it might be just as effective and maybe less time consuming if there's a NRC letter that advocates for that. And it might make sense to just, I still don't know what the other department requests are going to be with regard to staffing. So it might be good to kind of flesh that out a little bit and see what that looks like. And that way, if you're going to vie for, this forester position with the commission, you might have a sense of what else is out there for, asks. But other than that, I mean, and Sam, I think I have your email from the resource options that you were offering, and I didn't reach out to the 2 folks that you listed on that, but I still have that. I figured if I needed it, I would reach out. And I just think that the examples that are on Eugene's website is going to be very, very helpful. I do have others that my intention is to kind of pick the things that I think are most applicable. And I don't even mind the idea of floating a draft out there to the committee and just kind of saying, here's what I put together. What do you think? It'd be nice to do that over email as opposed to waiting for another meeting. But if that's the interest, I think that would be great. Because I know you folks all have a lot more experience with urban foresters than I do.
We would love to write you guys a letter, to write a letter of support. And having that list, if you send the email to all of us, then can we legally draft a letter among all of us if we've said we're going to draft a letter?
We've done that before.
Yeah. So we can vote on it and see whether everybody agrees on drafting a letter. I'm sure there's nobody going to say no.
And then, it gets sent around and you respond back to me.
Right. Yeah.
So you're not doing a serial meeting.
Right.
Yeah.
But if we have a list of what John wanted, then that would be really ideal to address in the letter.
Okay.
Because that would, I think, give more credence to support his position if we're saying these are the things that the city really needs, And I would almost say you probably should maybe get a hold of PRAC and Parks, because I think you're going to get support from those committees as well. Emily, what are you on? Emily, are you on another committee? Which one are you on?
I'm on PRAC.
Okay.
PrAC and CIC.
Okay.
Yeah. And that's that position has just been kind of briefly mentioned at PrAC, but as far as I know, at least in the past couple of months since I've been on it, there hasn't been substantive discussion about it.
But I think.
But John, I just a quick question. So I'm trying to find like that description that you said. Is it directly publicly available on Eugene's website?
Yeah, it's in there. I found it in their website. It's under human resources. But what I can do better than that, I mean, I can share the ones that I've pulled down, and I've got the only one I couldn't get in more of a Word format was Grants Pass has one that I just copy a PDF on. But I'm happy to ship that to Pete, and he can share them with you. It's just there was. Not as many Oregon ones as I was hoping for. I found Eugene and Grants Pass, and then I found one from the city of Chandler in Arizona, and one from the city of Monterey, California. So, and they have good points in them. I don't want to recreate the wheel, and but at the same time, there may be things for us that are, the Tree City is, may not apply to an Arizona description for instance, but maybe it does. I guess that's a national. But just kind of thinking about our own committees and the watershed councils, the Natural Resource Advisory Committee, making sure we've got those kind of listed. But other than that, there's it's a lot about programs, education, arborist services. I might be interested in what your thoughts are with regard to wage. Especially if you have some background on that, and that might be the outreach that I do to those connections that you sent me, Samantha, because these places list wages. Eugene's probably not far from that, but not finding metro area salary or job descriptions makes me a little bit wonder if I'm going to have a hard time finding a salary range to plug that into that would be comparable or competitive. And especially if we need an urban, my preference would be an urban forester with an arborist certification too.
Yeah, that's what I think we need.
I agree. I also want to mention, so I know the former urban forester from Grants Pass personally, and I think he was the first one they had. I don't know how new that position was when he became their urban forester, and he has since moved from Grants Pass to Portland, and now he's working with Portland Urban Forestry. But I do want to mention that it is a position that is stressful. I'm sure Pete can elucidate. Is not an easy job, and I'm sure no one expects it to be. But for the Grants Pass one particularly, the feedback he mentioned was that it was kind of like everything in this kitchen sink was loaded on him, and he was one person, and he was alone. Like, he felt very isolated, and he was doing all the things you're talking about: outreach, education, volunteer, serving both natural resources and parks, and he just felt very extended. So I really support the idea of having a urban forester. I really want one, but I also want one that stays. So I agree, looking into wage as an important factor in retention, but also making sure the bandwidth and expectations of the position isn't more than is feasible, let alone comfortable.
Yeah, I was going to say that the scope of what the urban forester or arborist ends up managing will be a discussion, whether it's public land and right-of-way, or also trees on development property that they're looking at as well, because that, exponentially increases the amount of work that a forester has to do if they are involved in private development.
Yeah, I think we've seen in not just this kind of job description, other job descriptions where, the the job duties are just too much, and folks don't choose to apply because they're intimidated by too many things. So we've had a couple positions where we really had to talk people off the ledge and let them know that, hey, we're recognizing that you might be maybe even newer to the industry. I mean, and the hard part that we have is those folks with years of experience. This is a union position, so it wouldn't be a management position. There's union limits to, for instance, vacation, right? So you could have someone that's been working for another agency for 10 years, and they really want the job, but they want to bring the number of weeks of vacation, for instance, that they get, right? And our union contract is pretty limiting there. And we've been working to try and fix that, but the union's been dug in pretty deep on that. So we've lost opportunities with good folks because we can't match their either their wage or their vacation schedules. So we may find that creating a job description that's a little more entry level, but I do think it's got to be enough experience so that they can handle the kind of stressors that I think everybody's expecting. Now, but the other piece to that is, obviously, if they're in the public works department, they're going to have a management group that is going to support them. This position, I think the conversations we've had internally with Aquila and Kendall have been, it'll be a position that's in public works. Now, internally, we've got 8 managers, and I think this one fits kind of well between our construction management group and right-of-way group. So the reason that I like that is because there are field pieces that, on days off or whatever, I think there's just opportunities for some duplicate coverage there, even though they're not going to be an urban forester or a arborist, but they'll, hopefully get enough, kind of cross-training from that person that they'll be able to say, well, there's a problem with that developer encroaching on the tree, or there's just describing, hey, you're going to need a permit for that, those kind of things. So I think that we would be, I don't know enough about the size of Grants Pass, but I do like to think that we would be more supportive of a position like this, just like we do with our stormwater quality folks and our water quality folks. It's kind of a team effort, because lots of times the messages that those guys have to deliver aren't easy either, and they can be pretty stressful, especially when you think of field frustrations with contractors or developers. They can be pretty heated.
And I would just say, as part of planning staff over the last 15 years dealing with tree issues, planning will always be dealing with tree issues, and there will always be part of a development code, and we'll always be stepping up to do the review. But we don't have that expertise to make the arbor culture judgment call and peer review that we often use peer reviewers for other natural resources like the wetlands, geologic hazards, and things like that. So in that regard, you've got someone on the staff who's a professional and who has the expertise and background and judgment that they can make the call when they need to.
Yeah. So is there anything else I can offer or help? I just, I don't think, we're off track, because I'm not, we got to wait out the budget process, but,
Right.
So I'm to me, that's why it's not been on the top of my list because there's always something else on the top of my list. But there's no doubt that it's not a lot of time. It's just take some focus.
Well, thank you very much, John. I appreciate you spending the time you have been focusing on this, and I'm really excited to support you and provide any more information or connections that might help you. I really think we could definitely use an urban forester grants pass. Just for reference, is about the same size as Oregon City, population wise, footprint wise. So I think there's definitely plenty of work to do, like you said, and definitely could use some expertise to help best guide it. I do want to support you, and I thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Sam.
Thank you.
So writing a letter, when would be the best time to do that?
Let me just a second here and grab my calendar of events for the budget. So I think that's so I don't know the certainty on this, but I think it's Friday and Saturday, March 3rd and 4th is when the City Commission does their goal setting retreat. And that's not when they adopt the budget, but I think that's the right time to let them know how important this position is to the NRC and maybe to PRAC. I probably ought to reach out to PRAC, you're right, on that. So that's, I think, a good target time frame, which isn't that far off. I guess this budget schedule is super tight. Yeah, we'll have to put in a placeholder in our budget for the position, and so yeah, I can't kick the can too much further on this one. And for you guys, I guess, yeah, maybe the idea would be to I'll send these over. Again, I think the Eugene one is the best, but tonight before I leave, Pete, I'll send that to you, and then you can share it with this group. And then, so maybe that helps inform your letter a little bit.
Yeah, and if you sent a list of specific things that you want this person to be able to do, we could draft that, because that would be important for our letter to match your needs.
Okay. Well, I won't do that tonight, but I will get you these examples, and then I can follow that up with a second email.
Okay. Great. Thank you.
Great.
Okay.
No, we're behind you 100%. So.
Well, it's not just, I mean, it's the city. It's not me. I don't, it's I just know the city needs this position more than, a lot of others. But
it has needed it for years.
Yeah, and it has needed it for years. Okay, have a good evening. Thanks, Pete.
Thank you for coming.
John, you have a good one. I was going to mention that February the 1st is when we potentially have the opportunity to let the City Commission know. Nancy or Sam or both of you would be giving a report for the 2022, what NRC was doing in 2022 and what we plan to be doing moving forward. So that might be an opportunity to let them know we're going to be sending them a letter as well.
Good idea.
Yeah.
Is that something?
I'm sorry, Emily, you froze.
Oh, sorry, my internet. Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay, my internet's unstable. If the letter is going to be presented to the commission in February, should that letter be
Oh, I think in March as well, or sometime maybe like a week before that March 3rd retreat. Yeah.
Oh, great. Okay, sorry, my internet's been cutting now. I got the wrong dates there. Sounds good.
We got a little time. All right. So that was John. Thanks, John. And I added, in the revised agenda, we added in the election of the Natural Resources Committee officers. And I will, our bylaws say that we have to do this at the first meeting of the year. So our officers consist of chair, vice chair, and secretary. And so I should also mention that, unfortunately, and I'm really sad to see this, Chris Weaver and Devin decided not to reapply for the NRC. They termed out. But they both have very busy professional lives, and they're both, Chris is going to be a new dad, and Devin is a new dad. So there's a lot going on in their lives right now that they don't have time to devote to NRC. But I spoke to Chris and then I left a message with Devin today thanking them for their service. So we're going to be going out for, 3 open positions. So we still have Brian and you 3 for now. Yeah. But you can elect. You could even elect Brian in his absence.
Hey, that's how I got elected. I wasn't.
That's how you got elected.
Who is currently serving as secretary?
We don't have a
No one.
secretary.
Okay, I was surprised to hear that role. So is that like a non-necessary position then, or?
It is actually now a necessary position.
As of like this year?
As of this year.
Okay.
Previously, we had been relying on the services of a transcriptionist, and that person has just been falling farther and farther behind and has also found other work. So it's still kind of a work in progress how we're going to be doing minutes moving forward. There's going to be a basic template for how they're prepared. There has to be some basic aspects to them, like there was a motion, there was discussion, there was an action, but we don't have to go down the rabbit hole. The secretary doesn't have to record verbatim, notes and that kind of thing. They have to get the gist of what was discussed.
Can we nominate Brian for that role?
You can.
And then maybe, contingent on his...
Contingent on his acceptance.
Yeah.
And then if he doesn't accept, we would have another election?
Could we defer until next year if he doesn't accept?
Yeah, probably. Yep. I mean, there's plenty of committees that don't have full officers, but, And as I mentioned to Nancy earlier today, the minutes that we have outstanding go way back, and they're all across the board for all those committees and boards. And that's just a function of a lot of different things, presence of meetings, technology, etc.
Well, the approval of the minutes that we're going to talk about, I'm just going to say approve them. There's only 2 that I was
That's
at.
what I'm
All the rest are before I was there. So you were the only person who was there. So if they sound good to you, I'm saying let's go for it.
Well, yeah, and then you are allowed to vote on minutes even if you weren't at that meeting.
Right.
So, yeah.
Well, none of us were at that meeting but you, so and most of those meetings. So.
Yeah. So I'm quite happy with that. But
can I make a motion to nominate Nancy as chair and Sam as vice chair? Is that how this works?
How does it normally work? I think normally you do them kind of one at a time because there's a process of elimination sometimes, but I am fine with that. I'm fine with it.
I'm willing to serve as chair, but I am also willing to let Sam serve as chair if she'd rather do that. So,
Well, I'm happy to have Nancy serve as chair because I'm going to be a new mom
oh,
in
no.
April.
Oh, my gosh.
So
Congratulations.
I didn't plan to make that announcement on this committee, but since we're talking about availability, I still plan to serve on the committee. But April might be tricky, particularly. But I'm
That's
one of
so
those
exciting.
people that I don't know. I plan so many things for myself, and then you're feeling good at like month 3 or 4, and then month 5 rolls around, and you're like, oh, I should do that. So I'm just going to commit to 2023. See what happens in April for that, but which is already going to be a busy month for NRC since it's Arbor month. But I'm going to make it happen. Is what my plan is. So I will happy to continue serving as vice chair, but I cannot promise availability as fulfilling all the roles and needs for chair.
Like I said, I'm willing to do it again. And I'm glad to have Sam as a vice chair again. And Sam, if you need any help for Arbor Day, you let me know because I can help you out. Since I'm retired, I have a lot more availability to do things.
Okay. Well, that's
So are we nominating Brian for secretary?
sure.
Okay.
So yeah, and I would be helping the secretary out as much as I can and giving them, I think it's a matter of not letting things languish after the meeting. That's the key. You do it within that week if you can, and bring it forward the next meeting, the drafts. So,
Chance to watch the videos while you're doing the minutes. You could go back.
sure. Yeah. They're all going to be on YouTube. Yeah, that's true. Yeah. Can fast forward. So yeah, that's a good point. And I should mention, originally we had direction that the minutes could be, the videos were a satisfactory substitute for the minutes. But that's no longer the case, apparently. So we still have to have some minutes of some form. Yeah. All right. So are the rest of the committee is okay nominating Brian as secretary?
That's how I became chair.
Excellent. Wow, that's great. All right.
So
Very
do we
good.
need to vote?
We don't need to vote.
Okay.
That seems like a consensus.
Congratulations, Brian, if you watch this video later.
He's having a Mai Tai in Hawaii, he said. So
So he's feeling good. He's feeling good about everything right now.
Great. Yeah.
yeah. Well, the prestige that comes with being an NRC secretary, I think.
Can put that on your resume.
Oh, yeah.
That's right. Okay, good.
Okay. So the next thing is all the approval of the minutes. So,
All of those minutes.
and I just looked through several years, and so there were a couple of I don't think I knew anybody on there. And then as I start recognizing people, oh yeah, I knew them, and they're Dee Dee. And
Yeah, some of the
I think
topics.
there's literally only 2 that I was actually present at. All the rest predate me. So I'm going to say we should just blanket approve them.
Okay. And I think the city recorder pretty much said that would be fine too. So, so good. The rest of you okay with that? Okay.
Okay. That was easy.
That was easy.
Communications?
Pardon?
Communications.
Oh, we've got communications, right? And so as John mentioned, where's my packet gone? Oh, sorry. One moment. Keep clicking out of it. Back regular meeting package. All right, I'm gonna scroll to the very end, past all the minutes. No, it didn't fit. All right. I'm just going to pull up a picture of the tree. This assessment of this risk hazard tree came from Terrigan and Associates. The tree is located in a unimproved right-of-way of 1506 Monroe Street. And Public Works contacted Terrigan to assess it. They determined it was leaning and there were cracks in the soil at the base, and that given windy conditions, it could fail. That is a very brief synopsis.
What species of tree was it?
Douglas fir. They gave it a high risk rating due to a 74-degree lean combined with compromised soil stability after heavy rain and the potential to strike several targets, which could result in significant consequences. I'll pull the pictures up and share them. There's a ISA basic tree risk assessment form, and then the photographs. Okay, shared. All right. So let me zoom in. Oh. Yeah. So there's the lean. And soil cracks, which are, they did a good job of marking where the crack in the soil is, even though you can't really see it.
Too much ivy.
Yeah. And that's it. And it was leaning towards the house and a fence.
Yeah.
And so they've already, I think they've already removed it.
Yeah. Good before those windstorms that we had.
Yeah. So anyway,
Okay.
This is an example of the kind of thing that a city forester could do potentially.
Well, one caveat I want to mention, I'm really glad we had the basic tree risk assessment form used during this assessment. I know it was for a hazard tree, so it's just sensible. It also has nexus with liability and insurance and all that good stuff. So I really appreciate that it was utilized and that an expert tree risk assessment arborist was hired to look at this. So a typical arborist with ISA licensing doesn't necessarily have the training and licensure for a tree risk assessment, which is like a higher level of training and certification and experience. So it would be great if we could get an arborist with, tree risk assessment certification. But for this particular case, I think it was sensible to get it removed. It definitely looked like the lean was severe and showing indications of failure going on underground.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised if with the wind blew that the soil, you could see the soil moving up and down with that degree of lean.
Yeah, and on the back side of the first page, they've got the categorization of risk is a little more detailed with respect to the targets and how it panned out to the risk rating. So,
Excellent. I'm glad we have that form in use now.
yeah,
So I would like to see this form come up whenever there is a tree removal on properties that claim a hazard motivation to remove a tree. Just because you can see based on the form alone, it's very in depth, and it's also standardized to the industry, to the field, versus to what the city has, which in comparison is very small, very not the same level of depth or nuanced analysis. So I really want to encourage the city to adopt tree risk assessment form for any tree removal permit that comes in that says, oh, we're doing it because it's a hazard. Well, where's your form? Where's your tree risk assessment that validates that claim? Versus like, oh, it's a hazard because it raised the sidewalk. Well, fix the sidewalk if that's the only thing. Just claiming it alone it lacks some transparency and standard, an industry standard is my point.
Yeah, it's systematic. It requires walking around the tree and looking at the canopy, looking at the bark, looking at the base of the tree, and taking into account the things that are nearby, which are objective, which it certainly adds a measure of objectivity and standardization. So, and it has to be done by a trained professional. So, yeah, I agree. Yeah, all right. Very good. Anything else on this one? Surprisingly, I didn't hear about a lot of trees coming down from that storm, but right across the street from our office, that on the church property, the Presbyterian church, a big cedar tree blew down in the parking lot. And they ran out there and had to remove it because it was threatening some utility lines. So
the ice storm probably took care of a lot of those really weak ones, but I know there's always others out there. And the cedar trees are so stressed with the prolonged drought and
okay.
going on with cedar right now that I'm not surprised to see cedars going down. There's a prediction that Western red cedar may go extinct in the within this century because of climate. Due to climate change and drought. And yeah, they can't handle drought like we've been having, a prolonged drought like that. And then there's a couple of pests that are in the area as well that are just adding insult to injury.
Okay. Yeah, that's good to know. Along those lines, I'll give you a quick update. We did the flyer for the Emerald Ash board. Jude today has got that to the printer. So that should
I got that.
Did you get it?
Ago. Yeah, I got it. I think the November bill, I think it was in.
What did you think?
I thought it was great. I was really excited. I was running around going, what are you doing?
Well, Mayor McGriff liked it too. And she liked it so much that, and you probably know this, Nancy, the next the next problem tree is Ailanthus, Tree of Heaven. So Jude had put together a little web page for Tree of Heaven. And explaining, providing a link to the invasive.org site, and which has a lot of pictures of it. But it's And then I think with the hiring of our new communications manager, Jared, who started last week, he's welcoming the idea of, kind of having a more education in the e-trail news about invasives.
Cool.
Because
Be
it's
more than happy to help him with that. If he wants to do something, I'm more than willing to jump.
Yeah, likewise. Even just a reminder that like ivy, I think most people know that it's invasive, but there doesn't seem to be much like value in that knowledge for a lot of homeowners. And I think I walk around my neighborhood, it's like probably a third maybe ish of all homes have again maintained ivy hedge, and the property is very neat looking, but like the tree has 12 feet of ivy growing up its trunk. So I think there's definitely a lack of value in that knowledge right now in the community.
Yeah.
Emily and Blackberry and the clematis, the invasive clematis.
Yeah.
Those are the three really bad ones.
I have a quick question about tree blowout. So the heritage tree, I forget the lady's name or their location, but the one, that giant red oak that split. Do you have any updates on that one?
Yes, I do. Thank you for asking. So the city commission had de-designated the tree back when it fell, and it was on the consent agenda for the city commission. They were advised about the situation and said, okay, yeah. So that had to come down. It took the owner a couple of weeks it took them about a week to find a contractor, and then that took the contractor several weeks to actually take care of the tree. And then just today, so the home is being sold, and the prospective owner had the covenant on their title work and came to the planning department asking how they could get the covenant removed. So we talked to the city attorney about it, and you have to record an extinguishment of the covenant. So they drafted that, and the city manager has been asked to sign it. There was a discussion that I had with the owner, Corinda, about mitigation options, but since it was an emergency and it blew down, we wanted to separate mitigation from this covenant issue. So while we're on the topic of this, when you read the code, the Heritage Tree Code, it doesn't there's no emergency clause in it. And there's no distinction between a tree that blows down due to a natural event or an intentional removal. But I don't feel, and Aquila did not feel, that it was fair to require mitigation at the level that is prescribed in the code, which would have been, for the size of tree, it would have been 30 inches of trees. And minimum caliper size prescribed in the code is 2 inches, but it also says you've got to choose the biggest tree possible, or, at least 3 inches or something like that. So we have not, at this point, not moved ahead with mitigation requirements.
I would agree with that.
Okay.
Should we do something to modify the code? Add an emergency clause like that to make it easier.
I think we should put
for
it in the
homeowners.
work plan. Yeah. It was.
You want to write something up, because you do code better than I can write sentences, but then you have to turn it into code. Do you want to add something to the code and bring it to the next meeting
Yeah,
And we could discuss it, whether we like that or want to tweak it a bit.
yeah, yeah. Emily, you were going to say something?
Oh yeah. Is there anything I've read this initially, but I haven't read it in a couple months. In the code that provisions like the maintenance schedule, because I know that the Shirley, that tree that fell in Elyville, it was not like properly maintained for years in advance, and just like so that future heritage trees don't have this issue. I mean, of course, it could any tree can get struck by lightning. There could be like fluke things, but this in some ways was foreseeable based on what I've
I mean,
heard about this particular tree.
Yeah, okay. So, yeah, that tree had so many issues. I mean, the adjacent property owners were so concerned about it, they were calling arborists and paying for arborists to deal with the tree. And in hindsight, was it a good idea to designate the tree, not knowing its condition? I think, like you said, we couldn't have predicted the weather events that led to its ultimate failure.
This is one good reason to get a city forester who is an arborist, because then they could do the evaluations on the heritage trees before we give the thumbs up or thumbs down.
Right.
They would.
We had to.
Not always, but
the reasoning was correct. We didn't want to burden somebody who wanted to protect a tree in perpetuity, and dissuade someone from nominating it. But yeah, so a third party would be a really good thing.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. But as far as getting back to the maintenance question, that's something where our interviewee had a great suggestion. Can we set aside a pot of money to help with maintenance, either through technical or actual maintenance? So this is another one of those things that would be good for us to make a recommendation on, and a code amendment, and the city commission can, decide if they want to move ahead with it and that kind of thing. But there's a lot of stuff on their agenda right now, but this was on their agenda before, so perhaps they would be amenable to it.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'd be happy to write something up.
Yeah, and maybe like just to coordinate with Public Works to make sure that is included, especially because if there's only a dozen or 15 or so heritage trees currently, like having an arborist, regularly check those trees out, because I know a lot of arborists don't do free estimates. And so I think that would be just a nice perk of having the heritage tree nomination, because you could,
Yeah, I agree. I mean, technical assistance from the city.
As long as it.
Hmm?
Yeah, even if the arborist, like the city arborist, if that position ends up being filled, doesn't do that work, but just to advise, because I think not everybody knows, like, when do I need to even get my tree evaluated? And so if it was an annual or biannual thing, or perhaps coordinate it with the.
Yeah. Certainly.
Just people can realize and plan, because tree work is so expensive. If the city doesn't offer grants for that or funding, then they can anticipate having to do work within a reasonable time period.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, I think there's some basic things a homeowner can keep an eye out on, and we could potentially put together some helpful documents about that. Like watch for broken branches, conks, weeps, any signs of decay, some things of that nature. But when to call an arborist?
Yeah. When do you call the tree doctor?
Mm-hmm. And we have had some offers of pro bono and free work from certain people. Nick Bezarides, who did Dee Dee's assessment for her heritage tree, did that, I think, for free. I might be wrong, but I thought he did. And then, okay.
I think after Shirley fell, though, he was not confident about, like, for liability reasons, doing that in the future.
Yeah.
So unfortunately, I think that connection is not there anymore.
And then there's the arboricultural instructor at Clackamas Community College, but whenever he's teaching the course, he can potentially do a field visit and that kind of thing. So I've forgotten their name, but I haven't. But yeah, that'd be a good resource. Okay, I don't want to let that one slip off my mind, so I will mention it to Jude Tadeus. He's a mind like a steel trap.
That's good.
He's really good. He was an accountant before. That's perfect.
Detail oriented.
And he's really interested in the tree stuff as well. So, okay.
Future agenda items. We need to do the work plan.
Yeah. So let's do that, as a work session. And I think, I'll send it around and you can take pot shots at it and we can throw it out and start over if you want, whatever.
There's still some good stuff in it, but I think a lot of changes need to be made to it.
Yeah. So that would probably take up a big chunk of our next meeting. We'll do that.
I remember in a previous meeting when you all were talking about this, you said it took a very long time. Should I plan for like a 4-hour meeting on that day or?
Oh gosh, no.
Okay, that's good. I just wanted to make sure.
I would say it could take an hour and a half to 2 hours.
Yeah.
It shouldn't take longer.
I wasn't sure the level of detail.
Well, it's got a lot of details, but I think we're going to be tossing a lot of stuff out and adding new stuff.
There's a lot of stuff on it that was
totally different committee. I'm the only person still on the committee, so.
Right. Yeah. A lot of stuff still on there that was put on there by prior members. And a lot of stuff that has since been accomplished, I would say, which is nice. But yeah.
One other future item, I don't know if we need to talk about it, is Tree City USA rededication or reapplying.
Yeah.
So that's coming up due, and also any Arbor Day grants that come with being a Tree City USA. That deadline is next week.
Oh, it's next week.
So yeah, I would, if we had any Arbor Day activities that we wanted to do, or that folks planning that event want to do, it doesn't.
Okay.
So, but that grant funding was increased this year. It used to be at 500, now it's at 750.
Okay.
So, so if someone in your office, Pete, has that email from ODF, check it out, look at the due dates for that, and you'll notice the increased grant maximum amount.
Okay. Yeah, so I'll give that over to John Waverly for the Arbor Day. So we're going to do Arbor Day and Enhancement Day, and then we're also doing Peace Tree Ceremony April 29th. And I've had a couple more organizational meetings on the Peace Tree Ceremony, and about to send out the invitations on that one. But yeah, the Arbor Day grant, John may glom onto that. He may not. I'll ask him tomorrow. Thank Thank you.
So I just wanted to bring your attention to it since the due date is.
Yeah.
imminent.
And I did get the T-City USA application in on time. I asked for an extension. They gave me till December 31st, but I got it in. And we did, so that's in, but we didn't apply for a growth award. I don't, from what I could tell, you have to make 9 points. And that usually is like 3 separate things that you have to do on top of the regular application. And we did the minor street tree code amendment and the update to the street tree list, but they fell into the same category. So they didn't meet the 9 points. I couldn't get to 9 points for a growth award, but maybe we can try next time. We've had 2 or 3 growth awards over the course of being Tree City USA.
Or maybe we can add something like that to the goal for 2023.
Yeah, I think so. And that's everything I have.
I have a question for Emily, and maybe you can talk to about the pollinator tree.
Yeah,
I was going to bring up the pollination stuff.
Yeah, so a couple updates on that. The first one being that we're tentatively scheduled at the CIC to hear a talk from Xerces for the March meeting. Unfortunately, the February meeting was already very full, so there wasn't space then. But yeah, hopefully they'll be presenting in March. I have to confirm with whoever's presenting from Xerces. And then another exciting event will be on March 11th at the Pioneer Center. It'll be like an environment and wildlife themed event hosted by Oregon City Parks and Recreation Department. I've been going back and forth with Melissa and Sharon about the details of that, but we've reached out to probably 15, 16 different nonprofits like Friends of Trees and Oregon City Parks Foundation and Clackamas County Water Services and watershed councils and those kinds of organizations. And we have commitments from a lot of them. And we're still waiting to hear back with some, kind of going back and forth with dates. March is a really busy time for pretty much all these organizations because people are planting things. So we want to have it in this planting things to kind of give them a head start on their gardens. But that looks like it's going to be a really nice event to have. And it's kid friendly. So there's hopefully going to be arts and crafts. Xerces will be doing at least one talk. Sharon, I don't know if Sharon is going to be the one doing it, but in the past they've given a talks that I think will be a good talk. And there's other organizations that might give talks as well. We're still kind of ironing the details there. But if anyone's interested in planning that or coordinating with that, and we have a Google Doc that we've been updating with the organizations that have been contacted already. But I'm sure there's probably some that we haven't thought to include.
Okay. Yeah. Jude put a mention of the pollinator recommendation that you guys made for street tree strips at our two in the report that's going to the city commission next week. So when they adopt the minor amendments to the street tree code, they're going to have a little blurb about that in the report. So we'll see where that discussion goes. I also neglected to mention that we did get the E-Trail News and the Friday Highlights both had a mention of the upcoming pruning workshop with at Chapin Park. So I was going to attend that on the 29th. Yeah. So that should be, and we've had quite a bit of interest in it.
Yep, I'll be there too.
Great.
I haven't gotten a hold of them, but I was thinking of doing it because I got a new tree this last year. So
Yeah, it will probably be really well attended, so that'll be nice. I think they're going to meet at Chapin Park, and then they're going to disperse to a couple of different neighborhoods and do some pruning. So it should be great.
Excellent.
All right. Well, thank you, guys. Really looking forward to another great year, 2023.
Are you going to pull something together like what we did, like what you've done in the past, just the bullet points of what we've done?
Sure, I can do that.
I or Sam or both of us go to the city to present it. It's nice to have those bullet points.
Right. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, we'll do. I think I've done the bullet points, and then I kind of do a little blurb about the highlights.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, we'll do.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Yeah.
I think we can adjourn the meeting. I don't think we ever called the meeting to order, but we can adjourn it now.
Yeah, we kind of just
Like my duties here.
jumped right in, didn't we?
Yeah.
That's always good.